Welcome, Chess Sultans. Today we're diving into a truly remarkable game from the 1959 Candidates Tournament, one that I personally consider to be among the finest battles these two legends ever produced. We've got Bobby Fischer commanding the white pieces against the one and only Mikhail Tal. This is the fourth time they've faced each other in this tournament, and trust me, it does not disappoint. What makes this game so fascinating is the sheer audacity on both sides. Deep into a grueling tournament, Tal decides to walk straight into a razor-sharp opening. And he doesn't back down from a single challenge Fischer throws at him. Let's get into it. Fischer opens with e4, and Tal responds with c5, the Sicilian defense, no surprise there. The game continues with the familiar sequence: knight f3, d6, d4, ce captures d4, knight captures d4, knight f6, and knight c3. Tal then plays a 6, entering the Najdorf variation, and Fischer reaches for his trusted weapon, bishop c4. Tal replies with his 6. Fischer retreats the bishop to b3, and Tal immediately advances with b5. Now, a calmer option like a 3 was available to Fischer here, but he goes for the aggressive f4 instead. Sharp, provocative, and frankly, a little reckless. But that's exactly the kind of chess Fischer liked to play. Tal has no interest in playing it safe either. He fires back with b4, pushing the knight that was guarding the e4 pawn. The knight retreats to a 4, and now Tal pounces. Knight captures on e4. He takes the pawn. Fischer responds by castling kingside. So what does Tal do? He plays g6, and Fischer unleashes the sharpest move on the board, f5. The idea is clear. He doesn't want to give black time to settle. After all, allowing f captures on e6 or f captures on g6 would activate that f1 rook immediately. Now, if black tries e captures on f5, white has bishop d5, instantly attacking the rook on a8. After the rook shuffles away, knight captures f5 follows, then bishop captures, queen d4 enters the picture, and suddenly the knight on e4 is hanging, the rook on a7 is under fire, and the h8 rook is also in danger. After black tries to stabilize with knight f6, protecting the h8 rook and getting the knight to safety, white doesn't grab on a7 straight away. Instead, bishop g5 comes first, targeting the knight. After bishop e7, the exchange follows. Bishop captures, and then rook e1. Once the black king moves to f8, white captures and ends up with a clearly superior position. So following f5, Tal plays g captures f5. It's still wildly complicated, but it keeps the fight alive. Plays knight captures af5. Tal wisely avoids capturing the knight because bishop d5 would hit the a8 rook immediately. So instead, rook g8, cutting off the idea of queen d4 attacking both rooks simultaneously. Fischer persists with bishop d5, threatening the rook on a8. Here's an instructive moment. If black goes to e captures d5, then queen captures d5 follows. The knight is again under pressure. The a8 rook is still being eyed. And after bishop captures f5, white doesn't take the rook, but instead plays queen captures f5, threatening both the e4 knight and the devastating queen, captures f7 checkmate. Black has to block with knight f6, and then comes bishop g5, bishop g7, the exchange, and queen e4, check picks, up the rook on a8. White is completely winning in all these lines. So after bishop d5, Tal plays rook a7. Fischer responds with bishop captures e4, and after e captures f5, bishop captures f5, we get rook e7. Then bishop captures c8, queen captures c8, and Fischer plays bishop f4, pressuring the d6 pawn. Tal answers with queen c6, attacking the knight sitting on a 4. Fischer has many options here, but once again, he picks the most daring one. He plays queen f3. Tal can't really afford to exchange queens here. After captures and recaptures, the material would be roughly equal, but look at the pawn structure. Tal would end up with 4 scattered pawn islands to Fischer's 2. That kind of structural imbalance would strongly favor white, so Tal decides to keep things complicated. He takes the knight on a 4. Queen captures. Now Fischer plays bishop captures d6. The rook can't escape along the e-file safely because queen captures f7 is always lurking. Even something like rook d7 runs into rook, a 1 to e1 check, king d8, queen f6 check, king c8, rook check, king moves, rook captures, king moves again. And now bishop captures creates a discovered check from the queen, king d5, rook f5 check, king c4, rook c5, checkmate. That's just one of many winning lines. They all lead to the same conclusion. White wins. After bishop d6, Tal retreats his queen to c6. Bishop captures b8 follows, and then comes queen b6 check, picking up the bishop on b8. King h1, and now queen captures b8. And this is the moment that defines the entire game. This is the position where the title of this video comes to life. Fischer's best move here is rook a 1 to e1. In fact, he had actually written this move down on his score sheet. But then something extraordinary happened. Tal spotted what Fischer had written, and he simply smiled. That smile was enough. Fischer second-guessed himself. He assumed Tal's reaction was a signal that rook a 1 to e1 was somehow wrong. A mistake. And so, rather than playing it, Fischer switched to queen c6, check instead. Here's why rook a 1 to e1 was in fact the winning move. Black cannot capture because of queen captures f7. And even without capturing, the threat of queen captures f7 still hangs in the air since the rook on e7 is pinned. After king d8 unpins, white takes, and then after bishop captures, queen d5 check comes. Black can't block with the queen. If queen d6, then queen a8 check picks up the g8 rook. So after bishop d6, rook f6 attacks the bishop, and after rook g6, rook captures f7. And even if black is up a piece, the king stuck on d8 with no shelter is simply lost. White just keeps checking indefinitely. Unfortunately for Fischer, rook a 1 to e1 never happened. He went with queen c6 check instead, and Tal had the only saving reply. Rook d7. After that, the attack simply evaporated. Rook a 1 to e1 comes, but Tal calmly plays bishop e7, and there's genuinely nothing left for white to pursue. Fischer tried one last trick. Rook captures f7, hoping that if king captures, he could grab the d7 rook and keep the black king stuck in the middle. Maybe squeeze out a draw. But it just doesn't work. Tal captured the rook. Fischer didn't recapture immediately. He tried queen e6 check first. If king e8 now, queen captures g8 would be checkmate since the bishop is pinned. But Tal sees through it. He plays king f8, and only then queen captures d7. Tal follows with queen d6, and black has successfully consolidated. With an extra piece, Tal is firmly in the driver's seat, but Fischer refuses to roll over. If he can grab another pawn or two, drawing chances aren't completely out of the question given white's exposed king. Fischer plays queen b7. Tal responds with rook g6, then c3, a 5, queen c8 check, king g7, queen c4, bishop d8. Pawn captures, and Fischer pushes g3. At this point, it's obvious Fischer has no real winning plan. Bishop c7 is coming from Tal, tightening the grip. Fischer's g3 hands. Tal the perfect moment to swap queens. Queen c6, and after rook e4, queen captures. Rook captures. Tal enters the rook and bishop endgame, confident he can convert it, even with Fischer up 2 pawns for the piece. Rook b6 holds the b4 pawn. Tal can't give up material carelessly, even when ahead on material. Both players bring their kings forward. King g2 for Fischer, bishop g, 5 check, king e2, king d5 for Tal, attacking the rook. King defends, bishop f6, rook c2, bishop e5, rook e2, rook f6, rook c2, rook f3 check, king e2, and now rook back to f7. King d3 for Fischer, and Tal plays bishop d4. The bishop completely dominates Fischer's king on d3. Rook f3 check and rook f2 check are both coming. Fischer tries a 3, but Tal simply replies b3 and there's no escape. If Fischer moves the rook anywhere on the second rank, say rook e2, rook f3 check comes, the king moves, and Tal grabs the pawn. Fischer tries rook c8. Bishop captures follows. Tal takes a pawn. Rook d8 check. King moves. Rook b8 targets the b3 pawn. But rook f3 check. King c4. Rook c3 check. King b4. King c7 attacks the rook. Rook b5. Bishop a1. Fischer pushes a 4, but Tal simply plays b2. And right there, on move 52, Bobby Fischer resigns. Why did he resign? The b2 pawn cannot be stopped. If Fischer captures the rook, b1 promotes to a queen, and that promotion arrives with a discovered check from the bishop, so white can't win the new queen. If Fischer tries something like king f5, then rook c1 follows and there's no answer to b1. The rook has to capture, and a bishop and rook are more than enough to finish the job. So on move 52, after Tal pushed b2, and Fischer tipped his king and resigned the game. Tal went on to win the 1959 Candidates Tournament, and that's the game. I genuinely hope you enjoyed this one. It's a battle full of psychology, near misses, and brilliant technique. In my view, it stands as one of the most compelling games these two ever played against each other, if not the very best. Thanks for watching, Chess Sultans. See you in the next one.